So I was getting no after no after no after no. And I was really feeling defeated. And I feel like for a lot of our journalists, friends that we've come across, you start to wonder, is this for me? Is this something? Do I really want to put myself through this? I have a top earning degree from a top ranked school, and I'm in this toxic relationship with the start of journalism.
What up? It's your boy Blue Magic, owner of For Your Wear and one half of the Mixed Tag Show. Now, I know you've seen the announcement for some of your favorite podcasts in wrestling. I've decided to expand my business to become a vendor so that people from the wrestling community have a better way to communicate with some of their favorites. So check out foryourwear.com and see if your favorite podcast on wrestling has partnered up with me. If not, let them know that they should. Also, if you're looking for a vendor for your merchandise, reach out to me at Blue Magic Grind, spell how it's down on Twitter or Instagram, or at For Your Wear, FORURWEAR, on Twitter and on Instagram. Shout out to Brian H. Waters and Breaking Through Glass Ceiling. Their merchandise are already up, and they're one of the first ones that supported, so go support them. All right? Peace.
I talk about NABJ a lot on this podcast. I mean, it's the organization that's responsible for where my career has gone. And I've been blessed to meet so many great people. I guess I could probably count. I know I'd probably be in the 20s if I go back and look at all 80 plus guests who's been on this show. But today, I'm bringing on someone who I met at NABJ in Miami. I'll wait for you to listen to the show to figure out exactly how we met. And that is the one and only Miss Shelbey Roberts. Shelbey is an award-winning journalist, and she is currently an evening news anchor in Illinois. And I'm really excited that we got the time to talk. We've been following each other since we met in NABJ, and to see the incredible work she's doing has been amazing. So, ladies and gentlemen, here's my conversation with Miss Shelbey Roberts. All right, ladies and gentlemen, as promised, on this episode of Breaking Through Glass Ceilings with Brian H. Waters, I have the one, the only, the award-winning journalist, Miss Shelbey Roberts. Shelbey, how you doing today?
I'm doing fantastic, Brian. It's so good to see you. How are you?
I'm good. We get ready to get into the fall season, so that means football, a lot of good wrestling. And
listen, I knew you are the one, the only wrestling man. So I see you got all your regalia in the back. I love it.
Thank you. Yeah, this is the time of year where it's like all the sports come together. Got the WNBA and the championship game. We'll get baseball's heating up, getting ready to go into the playoffs, and then you got football starting, basketball be starting, hockey be starting. So it's a fun time of year.
Yay, go sports ball. Contribute to that conversation. But no, I love it. I love the fall vibes. We're in full effect right now.
Yeah, and it's crazy because when I was younger, I did not like the fall at all.
Really?
Yeah, I couldn't stand it. Because it was meant it's time to go back to school.
Back to school. I hear that. Well, now are you all pumpkin spice latte'd up? You ready to rock?
Pumpkin spice, I tried it. I'm good.
I'm with you on that. Wholeheartedly with you on that.
Yeah. All right. So which one do you do? Dunkin' or Starbucks? Get a latte.
I'm not a coffee drinker, and it's crazy because people are like, you have so much energy. You always feel like you're on 10, but I really am not into coffee. But if I had to pick, probably Dunkin'.
Yeah, same here. I mean, to the point, I'll even buy Dunkin' Donuts coffee and make it at home.
Oh, look at you.
Yeah. And, sometimes you want a fresh cup. You want them to make it. But because when I went through my weight loss journey, I cut out the sodas and the juices. But I was drinking coffee with no sugar and just almond creamer. And I would buy Dunkin' Donuts coffee. So between water and coffee, I probably drink like 2 or 3 cups a day because I don't drink it to stay up. I actually drink because I like the flavor.
Like the flavor. I'm trying to get better on my water intake for real because the Coca-Cola is what gets me. Like, I don't do a lot of extra stuff, but you crack one of those open, my caffeine, it just flows through my blood, Brian. Oh my gosh.
See, I'm about to get in trouble here because we just had on the Mac Mania podcast, we talked about Pepsi or Coke.
Oh,
and all 3 of my guys was on Team Coke, but I'm Team Pepsi. I've been Team Pepsi since I was younger.
I mean, there's no hard feelings, but
come on, Shelby, come on. But yeah. So obviously, I want to know before we get started, how are you feeling? You come with a lot of energy. I just want to make sure you feeling all right.
I'm feeling good. Well, I appreciate you asking. It's actually crazy because I literally just got back with a crazy bout of COVID and it knocked
Mhm.
me out. So I was out for like the whole 5 days. And I think I had OG Rona because she came in with the 1-2 pop.
Ooh.
So I thankfully am all recovered from that, tested negative, feeling great, feeling like amazing being able to get back into the swing of things. But to be able to like sit down for 5 days and not do anything was so
Mhm.
out of character for me because I'm always like left and right, ripping and running, doing something, doing that, the other. So thankfully I'm good and I can slowly emerge back into my routines.
Thank God you don't look like what you've been through.
Listen, it's a blessing. It really, really is.
Yeah. So let's get started. You studied at the University of Michigan. Before we get there, when did you know you wanted to become a journalist?
Oh, I think for me, a lot of it was deductive reasoning through high school. I was a really good student. And I found that English, spelling, writing, public speaking, and stuff like that were areas where I really gravitated towards, and they just felt very natural. I could do the science, math was struggle, but I could make it through. But I
Hmm.
felt like those other areas were ones where I just was in it, and I think as I started doing those high school like career assessment tests where they say, oh, this might be something you could go into, it kind of started whittling me closer, not necessarily into TV news,
Hmm.
but people oriented careers. I think I saw an acting one that came up, psychology came up. So things where you're interacting with people and you have to do a lot of listening with people were areas that came up. And I have to credit my dad actually, because he was the one that put the bug in my ear for news. And he was like, maybe that might be an area you go into. So I would say into my senior year of high school, that's really when I started to narrow in my focus. And then at college at the University of Michigan in Ann Arbor, that's where I really started to get involved with the student academics that centered around TV news. And I loved it. It was just from the jump, it was like I was full throttle ready to go.
It sounds like it was a natural fit from the jump.
I loved it. I loved it. My mom and dad both. My mom does a lot of speeches and public speaking. My dad does a lot of speech writing. So you
Oh,
better believe every Easter program, every Christmas program at church, every community, anything, they were going to have me and my brother and sister up on stage saying something or articulating something. So I credit them a lot with fostering me into it. So I guess, yeah, it kind of became natural after a while.
wow, you took it back. Shout out to the Easter programs at church
Listen,
growing
they
up.
gonna get you right. Those Black History programs, you name it, we
Hmm.
were in them, and they fostered a great love and passion for what I'm doing now.
Did you have any like fond memories of them that stick out?
Not specifically, but I
Mm.
I always remember just the nerves. You're
Mm.
always nervous, and blessings to the church folks. Listen, that's all right, baby. That's all right. You're gonna get there. So even if you're stumbling and don't know what you're about to say, they were really encouraging. So I
Yeah.
learned to fall flat on my face with some grace and just you gotta, keep it moving, keep the ball rolling on things. So I learned, and you learn quickly. You learn really quickly.
Yeah, you definitely do. Now, what was your experience like at the University of Michigan? Just as far as working, when you started, obviously studying in the classroom, but also applying that with whether it be student-run organizations like the newspaper or program television programs.
Yeah, so we were really fortunate. While University of Michigan wasn't necessarily seen as a journalism school like some other schools, they did have a lot of supplementary education in order to foster that. So I was a part of our student-run TV station called Wolf TV. So at Wolf TV, Wolverines, WOLV, we did weekly programming, and the program I was a part of was called Newsfeed, where it wasn't every night, but I think it was once a week. We would put on a newscast, a 30-minute newscast for all the students on campus. So if you were in a dorm and if you had a TV setup, you could watch us live once a week. And uh, while not everything was run the same exact way that it's run professionally, that was another great way to learn how to edit and report and how teleprompters work and how camera and audio, all of those many components to make up a newscast really consumed my life, and I dove right in to do that. And it was great. It kept me busy, it kept me active, it kept me learning, it helped me grow, create a network of groups of folks that I'm still communicate with today that have gone on to do fantastic things as well. But for me, that was my niche. That was something that I said, I think I can make something shake with this. Like I really think I can go on to learn more, hear more stories and things like that. So even just on a campus level, it was fantastic, and I loved it. So we were really moving, and that helped propel me into where I'm at today. I didn't go on to A lot of people interned at local TV stations while they were in college. For me, that wasn't what I did. Looking
Mhm.
back, I kind of wish I would have, but I did work for a public access station. So, again, a lot of supplementary work that I did to get me to this point right now.
Now, so like I went to like Morgan State University, and we
Mhm.
didn't have as many resources. Shout out to one of the NABJ founders, Dwayne Wickham, because they have a lot more resources
Sure.
now. But when you're in like doing TV stuff for your school that people can watch, is it that same effect of like doing local news where you're walking around campus and people recognize you?
No, I think at the time, a lot of students didn't care.
Okay.
It was kind of like they might have seen me out in these community areas, doing the man on the street, asking people, "How do you feel about the cafeteria getting rid of the X, Y, and Z," or things like that, but not that kind of, and I say celebrity very, very loosely, status of sorts. I think now
Hmm.
people here in central Illinois, they feel more invested in what's going on in their community. When you're fresh out of high school, you're a young adult, you're kind of like, I'm living life, I'm doing me. And if it's not revolved around me, I may not care
Hmm.
to the same degree. But a lot of folks I've found now, in the community I live in, that I'm really, really grateful for, are very invested. They want to know what's going on. So they may have a tendency to see me a little bit more and get more excited.
Yeah, that's awesome. Now,
Yeah.
can you talk about your transition from your from school to your first job reporting?
School to my first job. So that one was a little bit of a doozy, Brian, because I think I was like a lot of other students where I was very assured that I was just gonna have my job on news when I got out of college. Like, why would I not? I put all this money into school. I was a really good student. I was active. I was involved. So, I mean, a job, boom, line it up, good money. I was wrong.
Hmm.
I was very wrong. I think this is a very niche industry, and it is a very difficult industry. And while the trends of journalism, news are changing a lot, it was very hard. And I've done the math in the past, and I need to re up on the numbers, but I applied to at minimum 100 jobs. I think the last count, it was closer to 200 jobs when I was getting ready to graduate from Michigan, and no one would accept me. No one would take me in. Again, I didn't have the standard internship experience pipelining me into news and journalism. I had other internship experience, but not specifically in those realms. And I just found it was very, very difficult for me to get my foot in the door. A lot of people, I mean, it's the chicken or the egg, right? You can't get
Hmm.
a job because you don't have experience, but you need an experience to get a job. So it was kind of, you were caught in this never ending circle of sorts for me. And so I was getting no after no after no after no, and I was really feeling defeated. And I feel like for a lot of our journalists friends that we've come across, you start to wonder, is this for me? Is this something? Do I really want to put myself through this? I have a top earning degree from a top ranked school, and I'm in this toxic relationship with the start of journalism. What is that about? But I kept pushing. And again, major kudos to my family, because they were really the support system that encouraged me to keep pushing forward. And they said, "You got this. You got this. You just need one yes." So that had always been my thing. As soon as you get your foot in the door, you can go on to do greatness. You just need one yes to get you in the door. So at that point, it just became a numbers game. So I was applying everywhere. I mean, Alaska, Hawaii, California. I'm from Michigan. So, I mean, these foreign places that were not home to me, were not familiar to me. I just kept applying, applying, and I got one yes. I found one yes not
Mhm.
on TV. It was actually behind the scenes in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. And I was working production behind the scene. I'm scraping old tape off of the studio floor part time to get my foot in the door. I was the best dressed production camera operator, the best spoken one, someone that showed interest in elevating myself. But that was my first TV job, working
Mm.
behind the scenes, learning how things work. And I took that time, which ended up being about 10 months in Myrtle Beach, to just learn, be quiet and learn. You soak, you absorb, and you can take in and grow so much just by looking around you. And that's really what I took the time to do. And that slowly elevated me from part-time production to full-time production to part-time production with a Sunday morning reporter slot, to then moving to Savannah, Georgia to become a full-time multimedia journalist, then moving here to Illinois to become a morning anchor, and now promoted to an evening anchor in Illinois. So for me, it was very slow steps, but incremental steps that I'm really grateful to have experienced it all.
Wow, amazing. Now, I wanted to just go back a little bit.
Yeah.
You was behind the scenes. How did that prepare you? Because a lot of times students want to know, they just want to jump right in front of camera, right? They want to graduate, they want to get on front of camera, and rightfully so. You put the time in, if you intern, but you went behind the scenes first. How did that prepare you, and how do you believe that's made you better at what you do today from working behind the scenes?
I'm credentialed enough to know what I'm talking about now. And I did not understand the value of that at first. I was so heated, Brian. I was
Mhm.
so heated when I did not come out with a 5-year contract lined up in the top 10 market right out of college. I was mad. I said, why do these people not see what I feel like I'm worth? And again, it's not right, it's not wrong, but it just was. And I was mad. I felt discouraged. I was upset. But what I took from those parts were lessons and opportunities for growth I never, ever would have gotten had I jumped right in front of camera. And I know there are people that have gotten that. And that's not to say they won't learn those lessons, but it allowed me to just soak in so much more. I can tell you what the audio peak levels of your package and your VOSOC should be off rip, and how long a package should run, or why is a nat pop not off the top of this sound, or how we can use a rack focus, and why your camera and your iris and your focus and your gain, your exposure. I can talk about those things with other newer reporters and help them in their journeys as well, in ways I would not have been able to do had I come right out of the gate and just been an anchor. I think I would have succeeded because I know myself and I can push myself, and anything I put myself in, I'm going to make sure I'm prepared for. But I was able to make mistakes. I was able to ask people questions without them looking at me crazily, because they would have said, "Oh, you're on TV. You should know these things." I was able to grow and learn, and it gives me a level of experience so that now when people are talking to me, they can't go, "Oh, she's just a pretty face. She just shows up to work and reads." No, honey, there's a lot more that went into this. Knowing how to edit. I edit my material. I write my material. I know how to storyboard and storyline and incorporate creativity in ways I would not have been able to.
Okay, folks, now you can own more Breaking Through Glass Ceilings merch. Not only can you get the Breaking Through Glass Ceilings t shirt, but also the No Ceilings Above Your Success t shirt. Visit foryourwear.com/Brian H. Oh, did I mention we got hoodies now? Y'all know it's hoodie season. So, fellas, grab your hoodies, get an extra one for your ladies as well. So, what was it like? You growing up in Michigan, and that transition to South Carolina.
So thankfully, I have traveled a lot. And again, I always want to give credit where credit is due. My parents, they are my rock. They made it so where moving and traveling wasn't this like scary thing to a full degree. I was born in Philly. Shout out to Philly. Wasn't there long enough to really rep anything. So don't come in the comments, saying nothing crazy. But born in Philly, moved to Delaware, moved to Lansing, Michigan, then moved to Canton, Michigan, and then Ann Arbor, Michigan is where I was going to school. But in the interim, I was doing internship programs in California, in New York, North Carolina. So I had bounced around a lot in my summers. We had done college tour trips growing up. So every time we went on a vacation somewhere, we would go and explore the communities that we were a part of. So when I finally left Michigan to pursue this news career and really step my foot into things, it was it was a little scary, but it didn't tighten me up to the point where I felt like I couldn't learn and grow from the new experiences. It is very different. I'm gonna tell you, South Carolina is a little bit of a different town than the Midwest. Myrtle Beach, I would say, is more transient. You had a lot of snowbirds that would come from the north down south. So, living in a tourist community, I mean, spring break. Everybody want to go down to Myrtle Beach for spring break. So, navigating an area where people tend to move a lot was a little difficult in building community, I will say. The hours of journalism, I mean, this is no stranger to anybody that's in the business. You work wonky hours. So my first job down there, I believe I was mornings for a long time and then moved to late night. In mornings, let me clarify, mornings being like the 1 a.m. to 11 a.m. mornings, and then moving from that to the night side, which was like the 2 p.m. to 11:30 p.m. or something like that. So building community around schedules like that is kind of weird. And then you throw in breaking news and all these other elements that can create some challenges was difficult, but I didn't run into issues with like a northern southern culture shock, I would say there. Um, so yeah, it was great to be able to experience something different than I had growing up in Michigan.
Amazing. Now, when did you join NABJ?
So that's when 2019 NABJ Miami, which is when I met you, and it's funny because I'm thinking back to those beginning stages. That was my first NABJ conference
I
in
remember you saying
Miami.
that. You remember
Yes,
where we met?
yes, I do. So let me play it back. I remember I was so nervous, Brian. I was so nervous.
Uh-huh.
That, oh my gosh, all these beautiful black and brown folks that like know what they're doing and they're coming in with these suits and these hairstyles and they are just like go, go, go. And I'm like, okay, I'm a new anchor and I'm trying to like fit in where I fit in and stuff like that. So we were at the hotel and we were going to one of our first sessions of NABJ 19. And I remembered I was getting so lost with the bus and shuttle schedule, and I saw all these dapper young black men standing on the side of the corner. And I was like, okay, they're nicely dressed. They look like they're about some business. I'm just going to go over to them and hope that they're trying to take a shuttle to the conference center too. And you were so kind. And there was a couple other folks over there too. And that's when we really just started striking up conversation. You were telling me about the work that you were doing at the time. And I
Mhm.
was like, okay, this is a good first step. I feel at ease because y'all kind of seem like you know what you're doing, even though I have no idea what I'm doing. So I think that was our first introduction. And
Yeah.
then we were like trying to get into all these workshops with like the free breakfast food. I think we ended up
Hmm.
making a wrong turn and got free
Yeah,
breakfast
breakfast we wasn't supposed to.
we weren't supposed to have, and they were looking at us like this is a ticketed event and
Yeah,
y'all
because
are
that
up
was that
here
was my
eating good.
birthday. That was the first day, so it was that Wednesday, and I remember it was my birthday, and I was like, I
Yes.
was like, oh, okay, well, all right, we eating a breakfast. Then somebody was like, yeah, y'all, this is supposed to be a ticket event.
After
What you
I
gonna
think
do?
we had
Ticket
gone
bro?
back to plate number 2 at that point, and we just, "Oops, sorry."
Oops. Oh man, but so you went to the conference, and what was your experience like overall that one, and then going this year as a vet?
Yeah.
Because that like that first one is my first one was 2013 in Orlando,
Oh, wow, yeah.
and I remember like it was like right after graduating from college, and I'm all right. I'm determined. I'm gonna get a job. Thankfully, I got my job through my first job at ESPN through there. But just walking around, seeing everybody, it was like, wow, that's a lot of beautiful black people, like you said earlier.
Yes. That I mean, that is literally that is the bullet of it. It was like, I have never experienced this in my life. I was overwhelmed though. I'm not
Hmm.
gonna lie. I was very much trying to figure out like what was my like what did I want to get out of it, and I couldn't quite narrow it down because you had the career fair, you had the brunches and the workshops and the after parties and the receptions, and I didn't really know how to hone in on, okay, what do you want to take out of this? So I
Mhm.
was trying to front load, 8 workshops in a day and then go to two reception, then go to sports task force, after party, and then network. And I just felt like I was all over the place. Learned a lot, but I was drained. So going back this past year in where were Vegas, in Vegas, first
Mhm.
time in Vegas, amazing. So I was already excited. I think the pressure of not of knowing kind of what to expect, the lay of the land, and then also having created journalist community by way of social media, I
Mhm.
was like, okay, this is family. Like, there are people I've connected with over the last years that, when I roll up and see you, I'm like, oh, okay. Hey, Brian. Even like when we saw each other, I was like, I haven't seen you in 3 years, but hey, Brian,
Right.
with you and all these other folks. So it didn't feel like I was as much on edge
Mhm.
as the first year. And it was just a good time. It was good vibes. And that's why I understand after the first one why everyone says it's like a family reunion, because it absolutely, I mean, I was just walking down the hallways and I'm like, oh, I remember you are. I may not know your name, but I definitely follow you on Instagram. Love
Yep.
your work and things like that. So it was incredible. Absolutely incredible.
Yeah, that's amazing, and it's my favorite event without a shadow of a doubt. I can't wait till the next one. A lot of people are sleeping on Birmingham. I think it's gonna be a really good one,
That's gonna be
especially the
hype.
fact we're gonna have each other.
Listen,
So,
it is gonna be so hype in the history. I mean, behind it all, that's gonna be powerful. I know it's gonna be powerful.
yeah. Now you mentioned, going from morning news reporter to evening news anchor. Just talk about that. What's that experience been like for you? Obviously you're a veteran in the game. You're confident. You hear how you can speak to pretty much any job that needs to be done. You can fill in. Yeah, I mean, obviously, I know you probably don't want to be a camera woman, but if need be, if something happens and you got to fill in, pay you triple your salary. But just talk about the role you're in now, and how long did it take you to like really get comfortable?
Yeah, I think I'm so grateful because I have been able to feel, especially here at this station, I feel like I'm able to be authentic. I can be what you're getting now from me, Brian, is what you're going to get on air. And I think a lot of times, especially new journalists, will sometimes go into these roles thinking they've got to be something that they're not. I credit Jeanette Reyes, shout out to her and her husband Robert Burton. They
Mm.
always, the news anchor voice, and they're
Yep.
always like this, whether they're at home or they're in the studio. And I think people have this perception that that's how anchors or reporters always have to be. And I'm so grateful for what I'm doing. It's not an act. I'm
Mhm.
genuinely like this, and my station has created and fostered an environment for me to be this way. And I think it helps me connect with our audience in central Illinois. So, being an evening news anchor right now, my roles are different than they were when I was reporting full time, but it's a lot of leadership, and I'm grateful that I've been able to help train and still learn from other newer reporters that are coming into our station to see where their mindset is at, areas that they might be able to improve, areas that I can still improve, because I learn from my co-anchor all the time of things, because you keep saying vet and I laugh at that because he's a real vet, that's been in the game for a while. So to learn from them and grow from them, but also teach. I think leadership has been able to afford me those opportunities. Morning anchor, it was fun when I was doing it. It was just a good time, and I think that's naturally my personality. I'm a morning person. That's just the spirit. I think I tend to emote for a lot of people. So while the hours were wonky, I enjoyed myself because it was just this is the first thing a lot of people are saying. When you wake up in the morning at 5 o'clock, you get your 5 a.m. cup of coffee and you want to know what's going on. I was able to provide that to people while I was doing that. And now, just on the flip side of things, it's obviously more serious. It's got a different tone, but still being able to share the stories that I really care about, stories that don't necessarily get told, and shedding some light on that, and just being a part of something bigger than myself is something I don't take that for granted. I don't take that lightly.
That's awesome. Now, before we get you out of here, I always like to ask everybody this question. When did you break through the glass ceiling? When was that moment that happened that you realized like you got this? And obviously not in an arrogant way,
Yeah.
but you knew that you could, you was pretty good at what you do.
I think I'm still trying to crack away at it,
Hmm.
but what I'm a moment that I know I was really proud of. And again, back to the notion of being a part of something bigger than myself. Back in 2020, after all the civil unrest after George Floyd's death, um, our management team came together to me and shout out to the for real veteran Eugene Daniel III, my brother in media, who also used to work at our station too.
Hmm.
Our management team came to us and said, "We want to do something talking about this, and we don't know how to approach this civil unrest topic. We know it's layered, but they were very transparent in saying that, we don't know what to do, but we feel like we need to do something because our community is hurting right now." And so Eugene and myself really were brainstorming opportunities to unpack. What we are seeing symptoms of pain and hurt in our Black and Brown communities after George Floyd's death, and what we ultimately were able to get the support of from our management team was to put on a 2-hour primetime special focusing on race relations in central Illinois and what that looked like. We had 20 plus live in studio interviews, all folks of Black and Brown communities, to talk about the context of race relations, to talk about what is racism at the time in 2020? What does that actually look like? Talking about public health disparities in Black communities. And at the time, the Confederate flag monuments were coming down. So we talked about why is there so much pain when it comes to Confederacy and the allyship, and what are folks of the next generation doing in order to mend some of these wounds. So 2 hours of just back to back to back live interviews, having some of our reporters go in and do deeper dives. um, and it was so beautiful and so moving to be able to have that support from not only internally our management team, but also our central Illinois community. It was called Together We Rise. It ultimately ended up winning an Edward R. Murrow Award. It won a couple of Illinois Broadcasting Association awards, all because of something that we were able to come together to notice our community was hurting, and taking a step back to approach some really uncomfortable conversations to showcase with folks that might have never been exposed to what was really happening. And that would be, I would say, if there was a moment I had to look back to feel like if I broke even just a little bit of a ceiling, I
Hmm.
think with the help of Eugene and our management team in central Illinois as a community, we really did something. And that will for always and ever be something I am so proud of to have had a part in.
I gotta ask you this follow up.
Yeah.
What was it like? What was when you found out y'all won the award? What was that like for you personally?
Oh, it was incredible. It was incredible. There's not, I'm a gangster, so not much makes me cry. No, I cry about everything. I cry about everything. So I was emotional, man, and I just remember uh just thinking back at what that meant for a larger community. And like I said, I love our central Illinois community that I'm a part of, but if you're not raised in certain households, there's just certain conversations you wouldn't be exposed to, and not necessarily to your fault, but um there was very much a distinct difference. And to be able to introduce that, and those are conversations that people are still talking about to this day, it felt incredible. It felt incredible. And that's really where I in my head I said, okay, I think I'm on to something here, but it's not just me. This is so much bigger than me, and I couldn't have done it if it was just me. Um, but it was incredible. It was absolutely incredible and so unexpected.
And well deserved.
Oh, thank
I'm so happy for you. And obviously just getting to know you more,
yeah.
it makes me even happier for you, because
Thank
just thinking about you just needing that one yes. And now look at you. It's
And so much
amazing.
room to grow, so much room to grow. It doesn't stop here. It doesn't stop here. And I think for all the new journalists, or even if you're not in a journalism career, just whatever
Hmm.
you're going out to do, find your passion. And it sounds so cheesy. If it sounds cliche, but I genuinely love what I do. There is nothing else I could imagine myself doing. Not to say I can't do anything else, but I know I am here for a greater purpose. And I know that the work that I'm trying to do, it means something.
It's a
And
beautiful
my
thing.
hope for other people is that they can find that in whatever it is they go into.
Yeah. But Shelby, let the people know where they can find you.
Absolutely. So Shelby Roberts, the big thing about my name, it has an EY. So SHELBEY Roberts. I'm on Twitter, I'm on Instagram, I'm on Facebook. I'm not on TikTok and stuff like that yet. Maybe at some point I'll get grown and I'll do that. But let's connect, let's chat. I'd love to get to know folks and hear more of their stories, or ways I might be able to help if they're interested.
Well, Shelby, I definitely appreciate your time. Uh, if we don't link up before, I can't wait to see you in Birmingham.
Yes,
Uh,
I love it. I love it. Well, thank you for the opportunity, Brian, and you're doing some great things. So thanks for letting me have an opportunity to chat.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Ladies and gentlemen, make sure y'all follow Shelby on all social media platforms. And the show brought to you by foryourwear.com, where you can get merch. Shout out to Blue Magic Grind, the CEO. And so long, everybody.